hello, hello. What's up on this glorious Friday? Hope you're all doing good. Let me know how the sound is, please. The sound, the visuals, all the working elements. Hope everyone's good. Margot, you're back. I feel like you were gone. Hope everything's okay. Is it my imagination or did you miss a couple of sessions? Anyway, not worried. Hope you're well. I hope everyone's well. I hope everyone's safe. And for you, good folks in the States that are getting battered by these storms, you have my deepest sympathies. It's brutal what's going on over there. Why are the government doing that to you guys? I don't understand. They could just turn those storms off and it wouldn't be an issue. Seems good now. Thank you for the heads up, Rick. The reference is bugged out. You are correct, sir. I will fix that right now. Thank you for the heads up. Apologies for that. It's a very quick, easy fix. I was in a super rush today, getting this stuff ready. As some of you may have noticed from the fact that Sorry, I'm just technical difficulties. Just give me a second here. Why are they not editable? Gallery. Sorry guys, this is really weird. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, sorry. Apologies for this. This is really bad of me. Just give me a second here. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. One little button you forget, and okay, try that now. Mic acting up while you're working on the photos. When it rains, it pours. Let me turn down the sound on the music. Okay, let me know how the static is. The images should be working. They should be fine now. Refresh your page and they open up. Let me know if the mic is good. Okay, sorry guys. I do apologize. Let's get cracking. Let me know, just sorry about that. Been super just frazzled and distracted by things that I shouldn't be distracted by. And okay, mic is bad again. I really don't know what to do with this mic. Nasty static. Check your chords. There's nothing for me to check, unfortunately. Let me see. I don't know what to do here. I do have another mic I could try plugging in, but we are getting into some seriously dangerous territory to be doing this live. You know what though? You guys are going to be my guinea pig here, just for a second. Sorry. I'm going to unplug you, and I'm going to plug you back in. All right. Sorry about that. I tried plugging in another mic and didn't work. Sorry. Let me know if the mic is good, bad. It seems to be working again. I just don't know if they're static. Can I get an update, please? Somebody. Sound good now? Let's see how it goes. All right. Apologies. It looks like I knocked the camera. There we go. All right. Most professional broadcast on YouTube. Let's draw. Hopefully that'll be okay. Mic is better now. Hopefully it stays that way. Hey Tina, did you by any chance get your artwork yet? Can you let me know? I'm really hoping this time it will get to you in one piece. Okay, let's draw. We have 6 poses. I am just not sure how long I want to spend on each one. Let's just work in the usual way. See what happens. Hasn't arrived yet. Okay, Tina, it should be with you. I think it arrived in the States. Kind of surprised you didn't get it yet, but do me a favor. Hopefully it'll get to you in the next day or so. Drop me a line, will you, when you receive it? Just want to make sure it's yeah, it has tracking on it. Hopefully you can see what's up with it. All right, I need to just kind of warm up here and just, get into a groove. So let's see what happens. And once again, Tina, I can't thank you enough for your patience with that whole process. Really and truly. Sternocleidomastoid coming up this way. When I lived in the States in the 90s, on the commute to work, inevitably we would at some point listen to Howard Stern. So I'm sure for those of you in the States of a certain age, you will remember him well. When he was on terrestrial radio, and then he went to satellite radio, to Sirius, right? And I never got that. I didn't follow him over or anything like that. the reason I bring it up is he just did a fantastic, well, I thought it was fantastic interview with Kamala Harris, and it was just very, and it's available on YouTube, on his channel. If you can search it really easily, but it's just a very, very relaxed and sincere, what felt like a very sincere conversation to me. So anyway, I just thought I would share that. I watched it last night, and look, I don't want to get political on this stream, but I can't tell you how impressed I am by her. She is in my opinion, she's a pretty remarkable person, and I really do hope that she gets an opportunity to lead. So anyway, just thought I'd share that. The print you sent was stunning. Worth the wait for the unrecorded version. Yeah, you know, I was able to get reimbursed on the shipping on that one. So that was all fine. We kind of covered our expenses. But that was absolutely insane. Well, no, I'm not going to bother you guys with it, but I sent a package to an image, a print to Tina, and I don't know at what part in the process it got ravaged, but someone literally looks like they took it into the eye of the storm that you guys are having and just let it float around. Just absolutely shocking. Just like to the point where you're just like, it looked willfully negligent. You know? Where are we at? 6 minutes. Checking something. Okay. Right, let's keep going here. tells me I'm going to run out of pencils. Let's see. Starts over now. I have to figure a way to screw it up. You know, when I find I'm doing a drawing which I like and I feel like it's working well, I almost don't want to even acknowledge it, because yeah, it just feels like it's asking for trouble. It's like the universal decide to put you back in your place. Just put your attention on not screwing it up. It usually works wonders. Oh, absolutely, surefire way. If you want to wreck a drawing. Comes back to that kind of concept also of learning how to use time, and knowing also when to stop with a drawing, because sometimes, you know, there are sometimes there's been drawings which I just stopped working on because I just felt like they had been going really well, they were in a really good place, and yeah, didn't want to screw them up. let's see. Yeah, we'll just do a little bit of blend in here. Any of you guys see the new Joker movie? We went to see it last weekend. It was opening weekend here anyway. I think in the States too. I enjoyed that first film so much. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I'm just having a really hard time even formulating a thought on this sequel. Just, yeah, very strange experience, I would say. Shame. Anyway. Let's knock back a little bit here. The new one's a musical. Yeah, it is. And it just, I don't know, it just, I've got to say, just for the record, Lady Gaga's performance is actually very good. And I would have been quite happy to have seen more of her in it, quite honestly. But it's just it's really hard to put into words. Like, it's just a very strange experience. Yeah, she's long in the torso, alright. The new Joker movie, Margot. Yeah, the sequel. It's yeah, I'd be curious if any of you see it. I'd be curious to know what you think. I'm feeling like I'm probably pretty close with this one here now. Michael asks, hey Michael, do you always draw with charcoal? No, not always. You know, in my day job back in the day, and would never work in charcoal, it was all graphite. And wax-based pencils like Colorays, etc. But over the last several years, yeah, I'm pretty much exclusively working in charcoal. I find that charcoal's got a range to it that is simply unmatched by other mediums. All right, I think I'll call it on this one. I hate musicals with a passion. Lulu, I am in that Camp 2, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Generally, I'm not a fan. Let's put this down here. Yeah, I love the first one. Slightly cautious about checking this one out from the reviews. Martin, I can't in good conscience recommend it. I wish I could. I'd say this. Look, when it comes out on streaming, obviously give it a click. It's your level of commitment is low, right? But Guillaume says, do you use soft, medium, or hard charcoal? I use 6B charcoal. But yeah, it's I don't know how much you'll be able to replicate that with the leads for a clutch pencil. Didn't watch it because of the reviews. Yeah, look, as I said, wait. I'd love to be able to recommend it, really. I have tremendous respect for Todd Phillips and what he did with the first film, and I love the Hangover movies. I like all three of them. Shoot me. And I thought the first Joker was an absolute work of art. I just can't get behind this one. And I genuinely wish I could. All right. Let's continue. Do you shorten your pencils? Do you cut them in half? No, Stephen, I absolutely don't. Good morning to you too. They just get used up. They end up short, and I have such a hard time getting good pencils over here that I end up literally using them down to this size. So. What brand of pencil is it? These are General's charcoal pencils. They look like this new. A whole batch of them there, which are unusable. Richard, do you have experience with watercolours? Tiny bit, Michael. Find watercolours incredibly challenging. Never done figurative art with watercolours. Worked in inks more than I've worked in watercolours, which I tend to like a lot. And I had a period where I worked in ink an awful lot. Not so much lately. How do you solve a problem like patella? What do you mean, Rick? With the knee? Please expand on your question. I'd be happy to answer it. Okay, timer is going. Let's do this next pose. Now, I actually initially, when I picked these poses, the plan had been that the first couple were actually going to be kind of like warm-ups. So I've been naughty and I haven't drawn much this week. So I figured they would be useful for that. So in the spirit of that, because we're already 30 minutes in and the next three poses after this one are really the ones that I wanted to kind of get stuck into, so to speak, I'm going to try and keep this one to like a 10-minute pose. I should have really done that with the last one. So let's try at least to do that. I know, famous last words and all that, but you know, I'm gonna try. Lower back is blending into the background, Jose. I could see how you would be you'd be forgiven for thinking it's a hidden edge, right? Basically, the light that's bouncing off the back board is reflecting onto her back, and it's giving a sense that they're kind of bleeding into each other. Okay, so she's got this box coming out like so. Good start on the last pose, but I got too precious. No gesture left in it at the end. That is one of the big challenges, isn't it, Tina? It's just maintaining that energy from the gestural stage. And it's so easy to overwork a drawing. Greetings from Mexico. Greetings, Emmanuel. How's Mexico today? How's it treating you? Are you good? What's the weather like in Mexico? Is it cooling down at all? I've been to Mexico twice. And I didn't... Not really a part of... Not really the heart of Mexico, so to speak. The version of Mexico you get 2 hours south of the border going from California, I don't think is necessarily representative of the country. So ribcage is sitting here. So we're at 6 minutes. I need to completely hurry up, and once again I'm treating this like, what is it with my time management? You know what? I used to be good with time management. This stream has made me get really bad with time management for some reason. Probably because I'm not working with a live model. You'd be much more, I find I'm much more obviously aware and conscious of whether the model is, you know, uncomfortable or is ready for a break. Get quite, you know, conscious about that, and so you tend to be a bit more mindful. Off-brand Mexico is still better than no Mexico though. Yeah, it just like you tend to get, you know, it's like anywhere where that just attracts a lot of tourists. You don't tend to see a true version of a place, right? Is Doug here today? No? Hey Doug, if you happen to be here, let me know, will you? I have a question for you. That's 10 minutes. Oh yeah, she does have another arm, doesn't she? Sitting here. Alright, I think I'm going to... I'm tempted to leave this one here. He says as he keeps drawing. Yeah, let's call it on this one. So I think it's kind of served its purpose as a warm up. Let's move on. Next pose. Oh, this next one's going to be tricky. Subtle, quiet pose, but yeah. it's the kind that looks deceptively easy, that is actually, you know, not, basically. Alright, let me just clean my hand. So yeah, let's see how long we go on this one. Probably a little bit longer than the last one, but I think it's the next two after this one that really, yeah. Even the last one's lovely, although that looks like could be a quick pose. Take care, Jose. Have a good one, then. All right. At what point is enough enough? Well, Michael, that's the $10,000 question, isn't it? I don't know if there's a good answer to that. I think it's something that you look. Could that last drawing have gone on another 10 minutes? Yeah, easily. Right? Would it have been a better drawing for it? Probably some. Yeah, I could have done with a little longer, a little bit more love. But I think you ultimately have to develop an intuition for when to stop. And look, overworked drawings happen to the best of us. It is a very good question. I will say this though. I think more good drawings have been ruined by being overworked than the other way around. Part of that also comes from when we're drawing from live models. Let's say you've got a 15-minute pose, right? By the 12-minute mark, you're kind of done with the diagrammatical stage. You'd be well advised at that point to kind of stop drawing, right? But what tends to happen is, especially when people are kind of still finding their way, is, you know, they tend to keep drawing. Well, I've got to draw for 15 minutes. So they start shading, but then they've got, like, at the end of the 15 minutes, they've got a drawing that is like, you know, a third of it is shaded. And then the rest looks unfinished then. Whereas when it was just left as a diagrammatical drawing, it looked more finished at the 12-minute mark than spending that extra time and going into the next stage of development, right? So this is why I would strongly suggest that when you're working from a live model, that if let's say there's an instructor or even the model says, okay, this is a 15-minute pose, time it yourself so that you know at the 12-minute mark that you're at 12 minutes and that maybe you don't want to start going into the next stage of the drawing. Because what people tend to do is they just rely on the model to keep time, or the instructor, and so they have no sense of how much longer they even have, and they just keep drawing and drawing and waiting for someone to tell them to stop. And that's a great way to ruin a perfectly good drawing. Time management, which obviously I'm been famously bad for recently, but knowing how much you can get done in a certain amount of time is a very useful habit and skill to develop. So this arm is actually really low, isn't it? when this turning point here. A film I have not seen in probably 25 years. For 1/3 shaded drawings, yeah, Tina. I've seen it happen time and time and time again. What I would suggest, let's say, for example, just to kind of get out of that problem, is let's say you've got your diagrammatical stage done at the 10-15 minute mark, depending on how long the pose is. You know, hit, for example, go in and start hitting coarse shadows. So, you know, like for example here I could say, okay, I know that there's a turn of form here where we go from light into dark, and you can go through a drawing and hit a lot of those major coarse shadows. And you know, if you don't get all of them done, they're still going to service the drawing in a meaningful way. It's when you start filling in those areas that that's where you're really committing to that next stage. So, you know, but you can, and once again, I think that this is something that is from experience. You'll figure out what you can get done, or what's going to help you even maybe finish the drawing at home, for example, right? So broken the drawing a bit there. Tough, tricky pose. I'll come back to it. I think I can fix it, but I'm not happy with that at all. Okay, let's see. Struggling with the right arm pushed back like that. So if you think, so right, if we think scapula, right, coming up this way, pushing up here. Head of the humerus is sitting about here. So really we're looking at some heavy foreshortening, right? So find, you know, like for example, if we see that that crease is sitting roughly about here, right? And then we've got the arm coming back this way. Find your elbow point. The elbow's sitting here. And then, you know, it really comes back to this kind of whole, like, I'm not necessarily giving you any meaningful information here, but get the foreshortening of that upper arm right. The lower arm is easy, right? Lower arm's just a forearm. We've drawn them 1,000 times. It's the upper arm that's the challenge. So just kind of find, okay, so we've got deltoid, then we've got the tricep kind of sitting in here, right? In this area here. And coming down to the ligament, and then coming down to the elbow here. Try and be aware of what this shape is here. If you see kind of tricep and then coming into where the bicep is, and then obviously we have the forearm coming down this way. With situations like that, it's the shape language that you pick that is really going to help sell it. Oblique, but stretch on this side. Kind of that way, and then something like that. You get a hint of the pectoral right there, but I wouldn't worry about that too much. Yeah, I get sciatica too. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Yeah, her left, I think her left, the left hand feels like it's got that detached scapula more so. You know, this feels a little bit more normal. Some of the ideas going on through with this right arm. But this cast shadow too, which is carving in and not actually helping our cause all that much. It is what it is. it's a rather anemic drawing. I, in my mind's eye, when I looked at this pose, I had something a little bit more dramatic in mind, but when I'm seeing it on the paper, she's got this drapery too, which is lovely. But yeah, I'm really quite disappointed with my effort here. So. Yeah, it's not really worked out the way I wanted. Oh well, such is life. I won't worry about it too much. Let's see, we'll just do a little bit of blending and get out of here. Move on to the next one. Hope for greener pastures. Let's see. Let's see what we can do. Oh, we've gone over. Thank you, Michael. You're very kind. Thank you for the kind words. Have a nice weekend too. Absolutely. Okay. Just going to just humour me here for just one more minute. Just want to add a little bit more punch with the light. So let's find our darkest darks where we've got like cast shadow, and we've got like our blacks, so to speak. And let's just punch that stuff up a little bit. does help, you know. So now I'm going to just, like, you know, if you look at, for those of you who have the reference, for example, the core shadow through here is quite intense, and then it softens right out, right? Even that helps a little bit. Are foreshortening and shading the same, asks Varad. No, Varad, they're not. Foreshortening is creating the illusion of something coming towards you or going away from you in space, right? So, like, for example, this is my arm foreshortened right now, right, pointing towards the camera. So basically, shading is the light. So, for example, as you can see here, the top of my arm is in light, and then as it turns away, it goes into shadow. So that's what shading is, right? Modeling form with light, the lit side and the shadow side of the form. So that's the difference between the two. Okay, so I think here we've got just a little, we can punch to just a little bit more. Hopefully to marry up with this just a little bit. Let's see. So once again, I think we can push right there with our core shadow. And then I've got this quite aggressive cast shadow coming through the form here. And then on this side, in here. And everything in here is basically in a darker shadow. And this form turns. What's the best way to study shading? Just by practice? To some degree, Guillaume, yes, but understanding the core concepts of how to shade or what it is, how a form is turning in space is really what matters. At the risk of sounding like I'm oversimplifying, I believe that if you know how to draw volumetrically and you know how to draw mass, the shading almost kind of takes care of itself, if that makes sense. It's understanding drawing volumetrically, which is what you really want to learn. The shading as I said, the shading kind of takes care of itself once you understand that concept. They kind of come hand in hand. I don't believe that you can shade well if you don't know how to draw volumetrically well. I think that it's just you need that understanding. You can't really fake it, in my opinion. Many people do, but I think we generally kind of can tell. drawing tons of spheres helps me a lot. That's very true. Boxes, cylinders, spheres, all of that stuff will definitely help develop a sense of drawing volumetrically. Yeah, and for practice. Alright, we kind of, it's a half-hearted salvage operation here. But I want to move on. Not great. Not. Yeah, what can I say? Start making excuses and get on with the next pose. Keep pushing here, but I think we're into polishing the proverbial you know what, so let's move on. Understand volume to be able to describe the volume when the light hits exactly what Lulu said. Okay, next pose. Alright, now we're getting into some serious business. No more messing around. Landscape mode. That'll work. Light is a little bit, I don't know if that helps. Maybe. Okay. Patrick, sorry I'm late. Yes, you have arrived just in time. You know, let me just give like I give this feel like I give this demo every couple of months, but just something for you guys to practice that are still kind of developing a sense of volume and mass, and even trying to just kind of understand how to draw volumetrically and how three-dimensional objects sit on a two-dimensional surface. Just kind of, you know, you could do this in front of the telly, like it can be really, you know, really chill exercise. And it might seem like just like a very simple thing, but, you know, just draw a series of volumes on a page, and you could link them. Maybe you've got a box, and then maybe you've got a cylinder sitting next to it, sitting here, going back in space, and maybe next to that there's a sphere sitting here, and maybe behind that there's another box doing something like this. Maybe this one's actually turning this way slightly, and maybe behind that, you know, there's another kind of cylinder coming out this way, right? And then behind that there might be another little box sitting here, this type of thing. And just draw a series of shapes like this, and then ask yourself, say, okay, light's coming from this direction, right? And just start to have some fun with shading. Think, okay, Well, on this one, we know all of this is going to be in shadow, right? This is going to be shaded. This is probably going to have a half tone to it here. As will this. This will be the same as this. And then this one, it's a cylinder, so maybe there's kind of like a core shadow sitting about here. And then we go into, you know, that's shaded like that. This sphere here maybe has a core shadow kind of doing something like this. And then, you know, this is going to be like that. This box back here is going to be doing something like this. This one is going to be doing something like this. Even this, like, even though, you know, this is going to probably have some, you know, be going into shadow around here, etc. Then you can even go in and you can say there's a cast shadow. Okay, so there's probably like, you know, a shape doing something. I don't know, maybe something like that. And we're going to have our cast shadow in here. Right, something like that. But what we're doing here is obviously we're trying to get used to drawing these volumes in space and lighting them and understanding how light hits these different shapes. You know, we can start softening, blending a little bit here. It's like, okay, maybe there's, you know, maybe there's actually quite a bit of reflected light down here on this one, right? Something like that. The same thing with the bottom of this, you know, the light's bouncing off here and bouncing back into here, so we're going to have a bit of reflected light in that region in there. And you know, you could just you could literally just snake around the page with something like this, and it's just, you know, the further this cast shadow goes away from the form, the lighter it's going to actually be. It's going to be really dark down here. But then as it goes further away, you know, we start to give a little bit more clarity to this stuff. Right? This is actually a really useful exercise. It's really simple to do, but don't underestimate just the ability to be able to draw a cube or a sphere or a cylinder. You know, on a page like this, and just like having the one, because when I'm drawing a figure, this is essentially what's going on in my mind as far as how I'm thinking volumetrically. Okay, her you know, her pelvis looked kind of box-like, and let me give you just a really quick example of this, how you could take this. Is it necessary to know hatching in order to know shading? No, but let's experiment with it, Farad. Play around. You know, I'm using charcoal. You didn't really see me doing any meaningful hatching here, right? Like, I'm just kind of filled what I like to call colouring in. Just kind of filled in with a simple thing. And that's the nice thing about charcoal. You're not having to worry about cross hatching or anything. We're getting our hatching for free, you know. But this is a really good exercise. But let me just show you something about taking this concept one step further. So imagine we've got, I haven't done this demo at this point literally years, so forgive me if it's a bit sus. But imagine we've got a box here, and this box is representing the lower torso, right? And then we've got a midsection here. Rib cage is coming out this way on our model. Something like this, right? So we've got a box, we've got a kind of transitional shape, and then we're going into like a kind of a squishy sphere, right? Or egg shape here. And maybe we've got a center line coming down this way, doing something like this. Maybe our underneath of the chin there, maybe our model's head is going back this way. Okay, so we've got, you know, we talk about, okay, iliac crest coming down to the ACIS is coming across this way, inguinal ligament coming down this way, something like this. We've got the legs sitting here, so maybe this leg is coming out this way, tapered cylinder coming out like this. Maybe this leg is coming up like this, coming from, right, we're thinking volumetrically, we know the leg's attached, so it's coming like this. Maybe it's going down something like that, right? This is foreshortened, so we're getting this kind of concept of this form coming towards us, right? This one might be going slightly more kind of in that direction, and then the calf going down that way. We might have the arch of the rib cage sitting in there, something like that. Halfway between the rib cage, we got the navel is probably sitting about here. Oops. Navel's probably sitting about here. This is actually coming down like this, coming out this way. You know, pectorals sitting in here. You know, maybe this arm is coming out this way, coming down, something like so. Forget all that. Conceptually, this is kind of comes back to this idea of thinking volumetrically, right? If I'm thinking in these terms, now let's just say for the sake of argument our light source is coming from this direction. Excuse me. Hold on, just looking. Okay, I don't have a handy pencil. But, okay, so let's just say, so we know that this side, this front, or this portion of the form is going to be in light, right? But if we just take this box, for example, and then we follow that, kind of the edge of that box down the leg, so we know, for example, there's going to be a core shadow coming in here. We could even just very quickly just conceptually think, okay, well, all of that has to be in shadow, right? Because we're thinking volumetrically. Same thing here, we can follow this down the form. We know that this has to be in shadow, right? Here, this is probably going to be sitting about here, etc. And we've got all of that because we've been thinking volumetrically, right? And we've been thinking, all this is an expansion on the exercise we were just doing on the previous page, right? We're just, I'm ultimately, yes, I know I'm oversimplifying, but I'm thinking boxes, spheres, cylinders, how are they related? Just while I'm kind of gathering my thoughts, especially when I'm dealing with something that's heavily foreshortened or something that's tricky. And then I'm just applying that concept of volume to my light, right? So this is kind of, to understand this is really useful as you develop and as you problem solve. And you try and, you know, take care of business on the drawing. So, all right. Yeah, that's a bit of a pig's ear of a drawing, but hopefully you get the idea. All right, let's move on to the next pose. You're very welcome, Sal. It is Sal, right? Okay, my pencil situation is so dire today. Next pose. Now, just want to make sure I get everything on the page. So I'm going to start over here. Slight tilt to her shoulders going that way. We've got this beautiful rhythmical idea, right? Coming down this way. see this one's foreshortened, coming towards us and then going away. So I think even just looking at that now, okay, I need to shorten a little bit, probably about there. Center line is going to be about here. Clavicle. Was that a rant? Yes, of course. They're all rants. You could pull that section to be its own standalone video on drawing volumetrically. You know, I feel almost embarrassed saying it, but I plan on that being one of the demos on my to-do list. I need to do it properly. That was bordering on embarrassing, but yes, that's the demo that I've given in my live class. I don't know how many times, and I normally spend about 30 minutes on it, and I do try and at least do a half decent drawing. You guys got the abridged version. Oh, Marco, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Glad it's useful. I've got a fear that I've drawn this too big. Thank you, Tina. That's great. You've done this before. I had no idea. I've done these demos a few times. Just a few. Yeah, I really need about another 6 inches of material over here. Oh well, we will not be drawing her feet. Make a better one. I will, Rick. I promise. I can remember 2 instances at least. Yeah, well, the cubes I've done many times. I don't normally expand it to the torso one that often. I don't think on the live stream anyway. But look, I think it's useful to, we can talk about boxes and cylinders and spheres, and that's fine, and everyone can go, yeah, I get it. But you need to see them kind of in application, right? These things these concepts only have so much value, in an abstract form. At some point you need to show how you actually use them, and just how you think, how you can think about looking at something and breaking down what it is that you're looking at and how you're going to problem solve it, right? make her legs go back. What, this? You could, but honestly, I'm not. I really don't know if I care to do it. It's like Simpsons. Santa's little helper suddenly understands commands. Well, a little factoid for you. I worked on the Simpsons movie, 2007. I'd like to say it was a bit of fun, but not really. I've literally not watched a single episode of The Simpsons since they worked on that film, and I used to watch it quite regularly. Working on those types of projects will do that to you. Okay, so I've really messed up my proportions here. I'm going to move my maneuvering up to here. Yeah, well, I worked on the Simpsons film, Rick. Yeah. Towards the end, I worked on it. I was brought in with about 5 other people towards the end. They were so behind, and they were just like really scrambling. So I went in to help with essentially to help with retakes. For the most part, I did work on a few just like, you know, standalone shots, but I was mainly there to help fix shots that had gone haywire. So I came in for like the last maybe 6-7 weeks of production, and we would literally get there at normal kind of work time, and we would sit around and we would wait for retakes. And sometimes they wouldn't come till like 9 o'clock at night, and you'd end up just like, I don't think there's ever been a film where I've done more all-nighters than on that one. The amount of times I left that studio at like 5 o'clock in the morning, having worked all night fixing a shot. So they had it for dailies the following day, and it was a bit of an ordeal. I actually have some Simpsons drawings here from working on that. Some drawings that were going to end up in the trash. Maybe I can pull them out at some point and I'll do a little show and tell. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate the support. I really do. I would also say though, that Simpsons film, I don't know if I've ever worked on something that paid so much overtime. And like double time. I think there was even a couple of times we got triple time, just because the hours were so insanely unsociable. Like, it's a long time ago now, but I do remember just the 6-7 weeks working on that was the equivalent of like, you know, several months on a different production, you know. Talking charcoal. No, but we were still working on paper on that one. That was still all done traditionally on animation paper. They hadn't made the transition to working digitally. You are the Control Z team. Yeah, pretty much. Production name for that film while we were working on it, because you know when you work on a movie you don't call it the film it's going to be, you call it a proxy name, right? And Simpsons was Yellow Harvest. That was the production name while we were on it. I would hope everyone works all the way through without taking breaks, Rick. Right? Everyone does. If you're taking breaks, man, that's just incredibly doubtful. Alright, everyone? Why would you need a break? I'm not allowed to take a break. Triple time is the most American work schedule I've had. It's the only time I've ever worked on something that paid triple time. Frankly, most projects you work on, you'd be lucky to get, you know, more than regular time when you're working overtime. Even time and a half is pretty unheard of, I'm afraid to say. No, the one thing I can say for that project, and you can't fault them for, they compensated everyone, you know, very fairly for what they were putting people through. But they knew they were going to make a gazillion dollars off that film. And you know, it's funny because as soon as, even while we were wrapping up on that, they were like, oh yeah, we're going to be making a second one and blah blah blah. And here we are nearly 20 years later. There's never been any more talk about a second one. Unless they're working on it now, and I have no idea. There is always that chance. Good man, Varad. Oh, Rick. You can't use language like that. Language. Yeah, you do. Well, you know, here's what they do, Lulu. It's a nice little trick. They'll do something called a foot. They'll pay you by footage, right? What does that mean? A foot of film, right? So, long story short, in most traditional 2D animation, it was 24 frames a second, right? 24 frames a second meant that for a single character you're drawing on twos, which means that you're doing one drawing for every 2 frames. So you'd be drawing 12 drawings a second for each character. So, you know, if you've got 5 characters on a screen, that's a significant amount of drawings per second. Sometimes it would be 1 drawing per frame, 24 drawings a second. If a camera's moving, you need to do 1 drawing a frame. So they would pay you by the foot, and a foot of film is 16 frames. And so you'd get a footage rate. When you were negotiating how much is the footage rate, and they'd tell you. And then it could be up to you. If you work fast and you can get through your footage quickly, then you're going to make a lot more money than someone who's slow and they work very, you know, they do the footage very slowly. So you're at the mercy of the footage rate and also how fast you can draw. And sometimes it was absolute murder. Especially, you know, sometimes you'd agree to a footage rate for something, but then the complexity of the shot would be way harder than you had initially been led to believe. And the footage rate didn't change. And you could get really screwed on some of those projects. Now, when I was at DreamWorks, for example, that's a freelance thing, the footage rate. You know, when I was on staff, you just receive a weekly salary, but you were then required to do what's called a drawing count, which is essentially a footage rate too. But if you missed your drawing count, you weren't necessarily, you weren't fired or not paid. But when you're freelance, it's forget it, footage rate or bust. Yeah, and it could be an incredibly unforgiving way to work. And you know, you could count on one hand how many times the footage rate really reflected in a fair way how much work you were doing. Always felt like you were getting screwed. Because you were. It's one of the reasons I hope I never have to work in animation again. Do you have a clause in your contract where you can bail in the middle if things aren't working out? I always do. Well, you know, I had one, for example, where I had agreed to a footage rate. And it was so ridiculously low paid when you actually started working on it and you saw how much drawing there was involved in it. That I walked away from a project once. I did like one shot and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Not really something you'd build into the contract. You'd just be like, I'm done, right? It's like, yeah. Honestly, Neo dodging bullets in a 360 would be way simpler and way faster to draw than a character, say, slowly emoting, right? Like, let's say you've got a heavy dialogue shot, close up, or a character's like, you know, acting. That is way slower to draw than a character that's zipping around the screen. You can get away with murder when characters are moving fast. But when characters are moving slowly, everything slows down to a crawl. What's the muscle shadowing on the stomach? You mean down here? Do you, Ogie, is it? Ogie? or oji. This here, I assume that you're talking about, it's not actually in the reference. It's a graphic motif I pretty much always put on my drawings to show the transition from the lit side of the form into the half tone as the form, turns from the lit side into shadow back into lit right here, right? It's always very, it feels always very unclear how to treat this area, because if you leave this just blank, there's very little dynamics to the drawing, and it's very hard to see any sculptural kind of element to it. So it's something that I kind of have just started to put into my work to just try and help turn the form. You see when you do that now, you can see that form turning in space, right? Can't really see it in the reference so much. I'm exaggerating what's in the reference to help describe forms. So it's a bit of a cheat, but you know, we need cheats like that. Slow expression heavy is the hardest one. You know, 100%. You know, it's like it's like anything, isn't it? The acting shots are always going to be the hardest. All right, let's just take stock here and see where we're at. I think we are going to need cast shadow in here, sitting in here, and we'll come back to giving that clarity in a second. Actually, I'm just going to add a drop shadow in here. Okay, let me think now for a second. Oh, my pencil situation's so dire. I need to go in and punch up some of these core shadows. Maybe I can use this compressed charcoal. Let's see. just go in and just, you know, hit in a little bit of kneaded eraser just to get some bounce light in here and there. And I think we'll call it. And then I think we've got 2 more poses, but I think I just simply don't have the energy for 2. I think we'll just wrap up with like a gesture drawing, you know. But let me just finish this one up, and then we'll evaluate. Or string pencil 6B, salamin. This is looking very Silver Surfer. Nice, alright. I don't know how that looks, but I'll take your word for it. What's the best figure drawing book do you recommend? Not really in the business of recommending figure drawing books, I'm afraid. If I'm going to recommend something, it's in the interest of, you know, this being a decent person. Where is it? Well, there's a couple here that are pretty. Oh yeah, this is good. If I'm going to recommend anything, I'm going to recommend this. Robert Beverly Hale's Masterclass in Figure Drawing. Because what it teaches you is not a step-by-step method, but it teaches you how to see what to look for. And I think it's good in that respect. I'm not going to recommend other people's figure drawing books because it's not in my best interest to recommend other people's figure drawing books, but this I will recommend. There you go. I recommend that you watch my videos and you don't skip the ads. That's what I recommend. Alright, I think we've officially flogged this one to death, so let's move on. Okay, let's see. Oh, I think I know what you mean now by the Silver Surfer reference, Rick. Okay. I'm guessing you mean because of how much bounce light there is in the thing gives that. It's a... we talked about this before and I couldn't remember the name of the artist before and someone threw it in the chat, but I think there's a... stylistically, I think there's a lot to be said for really putting a lot of bounce light into a figure. I just think it gives it... what's the word? It gives it classicism, which I think really appeals to me. Okay, we've got 2 poses left. The second to last one is an absolutely beautiful pose which requires care. The last pose, I think, is a very standard traditional pose that we would finish on. That won't require too much mental bandwidth, which is what I kind of need right now, because I can tell when I'm done, when we are officially there. Let's see now. I need to find a pencil though. Nope. Not this. Oof. These are just terrible. Oh. Sorry guys. Maybe the best of a bad bunch. Awful. Awful. Alright, I think we're just going to have to use this one. Let me just see if I can sound it slightly. Actually, maybe this is okay. Sorry, I'm just going to use this. Alright, let's see. It's 3 minutes to 7. Let's say we'll go 5-6 minutes-ish, right? Something like that. You know how this is. Alright, quick sip of tea. Doug, what's up, man? I was actually did a shout out to you earlier. You went to see, I saw on your Instagram feed, you went to see King Crimson, right? I wanted to ask you, what was Danny Carey like in King Crimson? My favorite drummer. Model photography, yes. And Oggy, if you are a member, which is only like $3 a month, if you're a member, you get access to the entire month's reference for like $3. It's a really good deal. Strongly suggest that you become a member. Okay. Timer is on. Timer is not on. Timer is on. Okay. Almost didn't miss Bruford. I'm glad to hear he was good. I don't know if many people know this, but I am a huge fan of Tool. Have been for just about as long as I can remember. And I'm obviously, because of that, I am a huge Danny Carey fan. And I think he makes there's a strong argument for him being one of the greatest of all time. And so when I saw he was doing that stuff with King Crimson, I was like, it's very excited for him too, because I'm sure he has a blast playing that stuff, and I can only imagine he does the music justice. That's awesome, Doug. Great, great to hear. Good stuff. Yeah, good times. I highly doubt they're coming to this neck of the woods, but I would leave the compound for that one. Yeah. Take care, Karen. You're very welcome. See you next time. We won't ignore the drapery, and we'll get to that. We can't see any of this, can we? Lovely core shadows. Bring it all together. Yeah, let's look at some of this drapery. So this is coming from over her neck. She's got this sitting over here. Sitting like that. Mass is coming across here. And then hanging down. On this side. going to call it there. Slightly more delicate kind of approach. All right. Doug goes to every single musical event in the Philadelphia area. It does appear that way. You are correct. Oh, I've booked many a vacation around a show. Yeah, that's the move. Lovely, guys. Got to bounce. Take care, Margot. I've got to bounce too. Guys, that was a good session, huh? Good workout. We will do it all again next week. Apologies once again for the technical issues. I will try and get them sorted. Can't make any promises, but I will try. I'm just not sure what the issue is, so maybe I just need to buy a new microphone. That could just be the case. Anyway, I hope that was good for you guys too. Do me a favor, if you wouldn't mind, hit the like or dislike button on your way out the door. It would be much appreciated. And I will see you all next week. In the meantime, have a fantastic, wonderful weekend. It is literally the weekend here. It's 7 p.m. It's officially the weekend. Whatever you might do, wherever you might be, stay safe and most importantly, look after yourselves. I'll see you next week. Take care, guys. Cheers. Bye.